Hey everyone, today we're doing something a little bit different and diving into Photoshop to do some easy-ish graphic design. So I'm going to take this photo of my dog Vito and we're going to turn it into like kind of a cool minimalist poster. First, what we're going to do is I've just opened up an image of him into Photoshop and I am making a copy of the background layer. And we are going to just kind of like transform it a little bit like this by hitting Control T and rotating it around so he's more level. And so that's all, because we're about to make a path around him and I want it to be straight. And so you can see the difference there of the tilt. And then I'm going to zoom in and using the pen tool, P, on Windows, and I'm going to path around him like pretty loosely. You can see I'm like going around his fur, especially up his leg here in just a second. See, because in a second I'm going to be like biting into this selection, so to speak, to create fur, because I don't want him to just be totally smooth because he's a really fuzzy boy. You can use like magic wand or any other selection tool you like. I just prefer paths because you get an immediate selection and I don't have to delete anything in the background. So then I am selecting the path and opening up an 18 by 24 blank canvas and then basically just copy and pasting him in. So now he's his own layer here and I'm making him a little bit bigger, as you can see. And then I'm going to add a layer mask. It's at the bottom of the layer window, and just a white mask, and then using a black brush, I'm going to be biting into the layer mask, not on him, onto the layer mask, because we don't want to make permanent changes to the image. And I'm just going to kind of go around him and create fur. Now, you can do this when you select your dog off the main image you bring into Photoshop. This is just how I'm doing it. Like, I'm a pretty like mechanical Photoshop user. And I don't mind like kind of doing this like manual labor, so to speak, because I get it how I want it to. Because it always seems like whenever I try to do anything that like a YouTube tutorial says, it never comes out like this, and I just have to do it the manual way anyway. So all I'm doing is I'm using like a brush at almost 100% opacity and just kind of like biting into his fur and like just really just like scribbling all the way around his body, basically, again on the layer mask. And we are just creating like this kind of fake fur so that he looks a little bit more realistic when we silhouette him. And then what I'm going to do once I'm done with that is I'm going to merge up all my layers, except not the solid background layer, all the transparent layers. And then when you do that, it gets rid of the layer mask, but it keeps all your edits of the layer mask, so all that fur we just created. And then I'm going to do color overlay, which all you have to do is double click your layer, and then I color overlaid it in black, so that it makes a silhouette. And then what I'm doing, again, this was the majority of the time was all this fur, is I'm putting another layer mask on this new blacked out silhouetted layer of Vito, and then biting into it again to create a little bit extra fur, because now with the silhouette I can see like the haziness that's all the way around him from the selection when we brought him over. And so I'm just kind of like getting rid of a little bit of that haziness, and so you can actually see like, you know, like quote unquote real fur. Then I just kind of condense all my old layers into a folder there, and then now I create a text layer, right? Just with a text tool, and I type it out in a font I want, type out his name, whatever your dog's name is. Don't type out Vito unless that's your dog's name. I make it nice and big and pop it up at the top, right? And so you pick any font you want. And then for colors, I used this website here and I picked a color I liked. And what it does is it picks like complementary colors from all around the color wheel for you, which is pretty cool. I've got a little bit, sort of an eye for color, but it doesn't all the time look very nice. But this way you pick, like it picks like colors that 100% go together. And all I do there is, I just highlight each letter individually and then change the color up at the top. That's it. It gives you, that website gives you a hex code, and so I just copy paste that into the hex key. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create these long rectangles that are going to go down from each letter. So that's just the rectangle tool right? And then I just drew out rectangles and then made it the size I wanted, copy pasted 3 more. You do as many as your dog's name has, or your pet, whoever you want to do it for. And then I made them the same color as the letters. And then that's easy to do too. All you do is double click the shape in your layer window, and then it basically asks what color you want to make it. And so you just sample the text and it'll change the color for you. And then if you rasterize your text layer, you can move the letters around like I did there to center them into each of their rectangles, right? And I move them around to make sure they're all the same size and like only just butting up against each other. And then I made the background black. And so there's a black layer on there now. And then I move up the silhouette we made earlier of Vito so that now he's on top of everything. And then what we're going to do is we are going to bring in some grass here at the bottom. And so I'm a photo retoucher for a living, and I have a bunch of like assets that I use for retouching. This is just transparent background grass. Basically, if you just Google like grass PNG, you'll find loads of grass that's already cut out for you, just like this. And then we're just doing the same thing as before. I'm just like double clicking on the grass layer and doing a color overlay of black. And so it's just like a big silhouette. And now on my Vito layer, I'm doing Control T again to transform it. And if you right click inside of the bounding box, there's like a lot of different kinds of transformation tools. So there's like warp, perspective, regular free transform. And I'm just kind of doing that to kind of make him more even. And so because in the photo he was like really front facing, and so now he's kind of more even. And then all I did at the bottom was I moved the grass up and then painted the bottom black. And that's it. And so this is a really quick and dirty video of like how to do this. The thing that took me the longest was the fur easily, but then you kind of end up with this like neat minimalistic photo of your pet. So enjoy and have fun with it.